Ya Ali Madad to all viewers. We have a very significant personality present among us today. Having spent her entire life in volunteering for time and knowledge Nazrana, Rashida Noor-Mohamed Hunzai Sahibah has become an inspiration for the Ismaili youth. To talk about her life and work, Alwaiza Rashida Noor-Mohamed Hunzai, she has spent her entire professional career in education. She has a BA Honours from Hull University, England, postgraduate certificate in education from Bristol University, and MED from McGill University, Canada. Her publications include the chapter on Islam in Faith for a Future, published by Religious Education and Environment Program. She is co-author of the Holy Ahlul Bayt in the Prophetic Tradition and A Bridge Between Two Epochs on Mawlana Sultan Muhammad Shah alayhi salam. She has helped her husband, Dr. Faqir Muhammad Hunzai Sahib, to translate into English some 70 works on the esoteric dimension of Islam, written by Allama Nasiruddin Nasir Hunzai. Another one of her remarkable work includes a publication on the life of Imam Ali alayhi salam, titled Hazrati Ali. Once again, Ya Ali Madad, and thank you for your presence, Mama. We're starting with our questions. So, the first question from you is, Mama, would you please share about your early life and upbringing in Kenya?
Thank you for having me, and inshallah, I will try to recall certain facts about my life. I was born in a very small town called Bukoba, which is in Tanzania. Presently, the country is known as Tanzania. When I was born, it was known as Tanganyika. This little town, Bukoba, is on the coast of Lake Victoria, and when I was born, it was quite a thriving Asian community who lived there, as well as the local indigenous people. And Bukoba is well known even now for a very beautiful Jamaat Khana, which has a clock tower. And it was visited by Mawlana Sultan Muhammad Shah Salawatullahi alayhi, as well as Prince Ali Salman Khan, who admired the clock tower. At present, there are no Ismailis there anymore. And so Mawlana Hazar Imam has actually given the first floor of the Jamaat Khana to the Ithna Sharia community so they can have a school there. So this is the town of Bukoba where I was born. My father had emigrated from India at the age of 13 or 14. There used to be sailing ships coming with the monsoon winds. So he had left India, left his family, and had come to East Africa. My mother, on the other hand, is a second-generation Kenyan. She was born in Mombasa, Kenya, and my father and she were married, and they moved to Bukoba, and they had 7 children, 2 elder sisters, followed by 4 brothers, and then I'm number 7. I'm also the youngest in the family. Of course, now you can tell from my age that my older sisters and my older brothers have all gone to the huzur of Mawlana Hazar Imam in the spiritual world, and only I and my youngest brother are still alive to tell the story, so to speak. So it was a very small town. There was an Indian school that taught in Gujarati, and this is where I went for my early childhood education. But around the age of 5 or 6, my father passed away. And so my mother took us all, 7 of us, plus my aunt and her twin daughters, all of us, to Mombasa, because this is where her family were based, and she hoped to have support from her brothers, because it was not easy for a widow in those times to raise 7 children of her own as well as 3 other dependents. In Mombasa, I have to really share this point that my mother, although she was herself not a highly educated woman, but an extremely courageous, resilient, and wise woman, she had the foresight to send me to school there, and to realize that because I had had a Gujarati education, this was a disadvantage for me in Mombasa, where Ismaili children were being given English education. So what she did was she arranged for me to have tuition with a Bohra lady. Her name was Kerunisa, and she was from a well-to-do Bohra family and had a good education. So she was my teacher in English to begin with, and she brought me up to speed with the rest of the school kids in Mombasa. So in Mombasa, I went to the Aga Khan Primary School, then the Aga Khan Secondary School, which means that I did my O-levels in this Aga Khan schools. The teachers were mostly from India or some expatriate British teachers. Our Indian and English teachers were excellent, really. But unfortunately, on the girls' side, there were no mathematics teachers. So we girls were deprived of any choice for further education. In other words, we could not do science subjects because we didn't have maths. But we were very strong on the English side. And I want to share one particular incident. Our English teacher, who was an English woman herself, she was very good, and she encouraged us to read as many books as we could in English. I remember that I would wait until my mother had gone to bed at 9 o'clock, and then I would start reading, because she didn't want me to read in poor light, right? And of course, it's a bad thing to do, and I ended up having very thick glasses at one time because I read so much at night. This English teacher encouraged us to go and read as many books as we could. So my friend and I, a Somali girl, Asian also, we went to what was known as the Mombasa Family Library. Very innocuous name. The name doesn't tell you anything. But when we entered this library, there was another English lady on quite advanced in age. When she saw us, she stood up and she came and said, "What do you think you're doing here?" In a very, harsh tone. And we said, "Our teacher has told us we should read lots of English books, so we have come to join the library." She said, "This library is only for English families." And she pushed us out of the library. I want to share this because I want you to realize that in my lifetime, how much the world has changed. We were brought up in colonial Kenya. And in colonial Kenya, there were 3 groups of people. And these 3 groups were based on their skin color. So we had, at the top of the ladder, we had white people, English. In the middle were the Asians, right? All different communities. And at the bottom were the black people, the indigenous native people. And this type of discrimination and segregation was very strong in the colonial times, to the extent that I was a girl guide. And we Ismaili guides went for an international camp in Nairobi, the capital. And when we went to the campsite, there were three groups of tents, one for white girl guides, one for brown girl guides, and one for black girl guides. And we didn't meet each other. We kept in our own racial groups. This is how strong the segregation was in the colonial times, which is very interesting because it also affected my future. When I talk more about my later life, you'll see how the influence worked on me. So I did my O levels, and I did well, with distinctions in English and geography, etc. And so, for us girls, there was only one school we could go to do our higher advanced levels. So this was a boys' school, and it was known as Alidin Avisram Boys' School. And the person after whom this school was named, Alidin Avisram, was an Ismaili. He was a pioneer. He had emigrated from India to East Africa. He had worked very hard, and he had made a lot of money. And he was encouraging other Ismailis, young men particularly, to come, and he would give them jobs and settle them and make them independent. And Mawlana Sultan Muhammad Shah Salwatullahi Alayhi was very happy with him and encouraged him to do more of this. So this Alidin Avisram was a boys' school. So there were 500 boys up to O level. And then there were two classes, Form 5 and Form 6, in which we were doing the first and the second year of the advanced level curriculum. There were only 15 girls. So during assembly, which was in the courtyard outside, the girls had to sit on benches and the boys used to stand, which didn't make it they were not very happy with that, the boys. Anyway, so 15 of us girls, a mixture of Sikh, Hindu, Roman Catholic Gonds, Ismaili girls. It was a complete mixture of girls, right? And we were studying there. We had good teachers, and we were preparing for our A-levels. Mawlana Hazim, so this was 1959. Mawlana Hazir Imam had visited Mombasa in 1957, I think. Would it be 57? Yes. In 57, he had visited Mombasa, and he had said, made a farman, and he had said, teachers are the leaders of my Jamaat, of my community. So from that time, I had decided that I would be a teacher and follow Hazir Imam's farman. In 1959, 2 years later, Mawlana Hazir Imam came to Mombasa again. And he would give didar in the Jamaat Khana where I and my family went, which was in the town, downtown, so to speak. And my Ismaili friend and I, we decided that we should really ask Hazir Imam to bless us, because we are going to have these very heavy exams for A-levels. So what we did was we stood at the top of the staircase on the side of the women. I don't know, I don't remember now, but I think we were praying hard. We were willing Hazir Imam to come from the ladies' side. Normally he would go on from the gents' side. But that day, Mawlana Hazir Imam came up the stairs to the ladies' side. And as soon as he came to the top of the stairs, we rushed in front of Hazir Imam. And then both of us, we started crying, sobbing, because the excitement was too much for us. The awe and the glory of the Imam. Hazir Imam was at that time 22 years old. And we were not that much younger. We were 18. So there was not much of a gap between Hazir Imam and us. But Hazir Imam was so special. And what Hazrat Imam did was he put his hand on each of our shoulders and he calmed us down. And he asked, "What do you want?" And we said, "Ola Bapa, we are going to have these very hard examinations for A levels, and we want you to bless us and give us your blessings for that exam." All of us, we didn't make a distinction to say only for Ismailis, bless us all who are going to do, boys and girls who are going to do these A level exams. And Maulana Hazimam gave us lots of blessings. And then he turned towards me. Now, I want you to understand that I was the daughter of a widow who had 8 other dependents. And my mother was struggling financially. The girl who was with me was also a very good friend of mine. She was from an extremely rich family. Right? Hazrat Imam didn't speak to her. He turned to me and he said, "You must go to university." Of course, I said, "Amin." And then my mother's cousin, distant cousin, was the Mukhi Sahib, who was walking behind Hazrat Imam. So they went into the Jamaat Khana, right? And my friend and I, our wishes were fulfilled. We had the Imam's blessings. And yes, Imam's blessings were for me in this way, that at that time, the British Council was offering what were known as Kenya Asian Teacher Scholarships to go to England to study. And luckily, I went for interviews to Nairobi. I and 2, 3 other girls in my class, we all got scholarships to go and study in United Kingdom. So in 1962, we went to England. Before that, I worked for 6 months as a temporary teacher in the Aga Khan School, and I really thoroughly enjoyed teaching. So in 1962, we went to United Kingdom, and when we got to London, it was a real shock for us, because those English women, teachers, librarians with whom we had that nasty experience, they were all white, right? But when we arrived at London Heathrow Airport, the cleaners in the airport were white women. So it was a shock for me to see a complete change, right? And there were many other cultural shocks, because this was the first time we had left our family, we had come to a foreign country, we had come to a country that was had colonies. Our Kenya had been a colony, right? So we were less than Britain. And now, coming to Britain, you find that, you are not in that second-class citizen status now. You have come to Britain to study from abroad. You are going to be a university student. So our status changed overnight. So there were many of these type of cultural changes, and you have to learn to adapt yourself, right? So I spent 3 years at Hull University. And I read geography because, as I said, we didn't have science and maths, so my choice was limited. But I really loved geography because I always wanted to travel a lot. 3 years later, I had a BA honors in geography. And then by that time, 1963, Kenya had become independent from the British rule. And the minute Kenya became independent, it ended all these type of segregational programs.